lounging, son.
And today we're going to be talking about New Mutants 98, first appearance of Deadpool. Also, first appearance of Gideon and Domino, who we learned later is not the real Domino, but technically it's the first appearance. I used to have, the original copy of New Mutants 98, and it was one of my most prized possessions, and sadly I had to sell it, due to life, especially during this whole pandemic. I've had to get rid of quite a few of my comic books that I didn't necessarily want to get rid of, but you know what? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. One day maybe I'll be able to get that copy back, but for now, I do have the facsimile edition, and since it's Deadpool's 30th anniversary, I figured why not go through the first appearance of this character that so many people love, including myself. Has long been one of my favorite characters, and this is right before Rob Liefeld, the creator of Deadpool, was about to launch X-Force. We meet him in New Mutants 98, and we don't see him again until X-Force 2. So we only meet him briefly, and he is kind of different than the Deadpool that we all know and love, but all the basics are right there for you. The cool thing about these facsimiles is they are reprints of everything, including the ads. The only thing I think that may suffer a little bit is them trying to recreate the same coloring that it was colored with before, because that was done on newsprint. This is done on a glossy stock, so the way that the color would be absorbed in the newsprint is very different than the way it is on a glossy paper. I know a lot of people people say what they say about Liefeld, and while some of the things that they say, I get their point. I am very nostalgic for this time period. I liked Liefeld when I was a kid growing up. I thought his stuff was really exciting. It was unlike a lot of other things we were seeing. But as I get older, I can kind of see a little bit of the I don't want to call them flaws, but some of the maybe imperfections in his art. But again, he was really young when he was doing this, man. I think he was in his early 20s, but his style is just so bombastic and so action packed. And I love this. I love the flip the book and we get this awesome spread. And this was just a really exciting time at Marvel, man. I think that, you had all the guys that went on to leave to go form Image. Liefeld, Larson, Silvestri, Lee, Valentino, McFarlane, Portasio, just all this fucking talent that was creating some of the dopest comic books in the 90s all joined forces and created Image. But this was still, Liefeld wasn't at Image yet. This was 91 when this came out. Not Image didn't form until 92, but it was right around the corner. So Rob Liefeld did the plot and art, Fabian Nicieza did the script, Joe Rosen on letters, Steve Buccellato on colors, Bob Harris was editor, and Tom DeFalco editor-in-chief. So we meet Gideon, and I don't think Gideon's really around anymore, but this was one of the debuts. This is not one of the more popular characters. We don't really know who he is. He's just training against these robots and stuff. Nothing really too crazy happening here. But Liefeld, what Liefeld did that I really liked is he definitely plays with exciting poses. There's a lot of action in his pages. The only thing that I would say maybe not as much detail in the backgrounds as you would see in maybe a McFarlane. But here we go, man, and then we jump back to the New Mutants. Cable's working out in the danger room. We got Cannonball. This is when Liefeld was changing up some of the costumes as well, and I really like this version of Cable. I like that fucking wicked widow speak that he fucking did. And this was still when we didn't know a lot about Cable. We didn't know he was Nathan Summers. He was still this mysterious character, much like Liefeld says. He wanted to create his Wolverine, and I think he really succeeded. I think Cable has gone on to be a very popular character. We got to see him in the Deadpool movie, and I love people say he can't draw feet. Well, that's how you don't worry about that, man, because the feet aren't showing right here, and can't draw feet when Cannonball's flying with flames behind him. But I like this because this is gonna lead into Cable creating his own strike force, right, with X-Force. And there's only 2 issues left. New Mutants ended at issue 100, and then we got the dope X-Force title that has gone on to have many iterations over the years. And then I like how he's trying to turn the more of like a military aspect as opposed to like this like family dynamic that we would see in the other X-Men books as he's training him, teaching him how to like fly under the radar without being detected. And like I said, some of the color choices. I mean, it's been a while since I cracked open that New Mutants '98, but I'd really love to put that next to this to see the difference in the coloring. You'll notice Cable also usually has a lot of shoulder pads, a lot of guns, but we don't see him there with when he's training. This also like this weird gray. I don't remember if it came out like that. I don't think he's supposed to have gray skin. This is another weird scene. This is just we got Boom Boom, Richter, and he wants to go off and find Rain, who was left in Genosha. He's still talking about like she's family, we can't ignore her. And like I said, this is going to become less of a family type book and more of a military strike force team. Richter runs off. He doesn't care about getting Cable's permission. And then Cable gets mysteriously knocked out, and that's where we get the debut of the one and only Deadpool. And he talks about how Mr. Tolliver hired him to find him. Mr. Tolliver becomes a recurring thing, especially in, I believe, the first Deadpool miniseries. We learn more about him, maybe in the second one as well. I can't remember. It's been a while since I read it, but Mr. Tolliver, who hires Deadpool, he's definitely around in the background, even post Liefeld leaving Marvel. And obviously he's a hired merc. We don't really know much about him. We get a little bit of a sense of his personality, but again, he seems a little bit not as humorous as you would think when you think of Deadpool. But I mean, such a dope costume design, and it's changed, but not much over the years. Widow's Peak again, dude. Pretty sure on Robservations, which is Rob Liefeld's podcast, which I think you guys should all check out. I'll throw that link down below also, man. Very informative. It's a really fun podcast. He goes into a lot of this time period at Marvel, his time at Image, stuff before this book when he first got on New Mutants. And it's kind of like reignited me wanting to check this out. And especially because he's going to be doing a 5-part series on his show talking about the creation of Deadpool. So I kind of wanted to jump back into this before. And we see that, he learned how to keep his blast field quiet, just like Cable said. Was able to sneak up on Deadpool, get a little battle here. Cable knocks him out. Get the rest of the team coming in as Deadpool's about to go in for the kill. He's able to take out Richter, but before he can really do anything else, this is how we meet Domino. And Domino has these, her powers have to do with luck. She's got a history with Cable, but again, we don't know much about it. She's another mystery that we learn more about going forward. And this was just a really exciting time, man. A lot of characters are being created. Liefeld was creating a lot in a short period of time. All characters that have still resonated. And, again, Liefeld becomes a more polished artist, I think, as time goes on. And hadn't been in the game for, I don't even think, maybe 5 years at this point. Maybe 4. I don't know. But say what you will about his art, man. I go back, I look at this, and I can feel that sense of nostalgia, and it's cool to kind of put myself back at that age and like when I was reading this for the first time and how excited I was because it was so different than everything else we were seeing. And after they capture him, they're gonna send him back to Tolliver, and Domino alludes to knowing about Tolliver too. He does, and Cable does as well, but they don't really give much information from that. And then here we go. We talk about all the people he wants to gather to make his team, and he talks about Danny Moonstar. We got Karma, got Magma. All these people he's thinking about to work with. And like I said, Richter makes his leave and disappears, and Roberto da Costa, aka Sunspot, gets a visit from Gideon and telling him his father's dead, and his father was the guy that I told you looked gray, which I thought was very odd, but yeah, leaves on that cliffhanger. Can't forget this Punisher video game for Nintendo. But yeah, that was New Mutants '98, the debut of one of the most popular characters in pop culture now. Largely, in fact, I would say because of Ryan Reynolds in the film, brought people in that weren't just comic book fans, because now a lot of the movies, like, people maybe weren't paying attention to Iron Man, but then because of the movie they were. Same thing with Deadpool. Deadpool has taken off in the public eye, and it was really cool going through this. Like I said, wish I could have gone through the original so I could have seen the actual coloring in the old newsprint, but wanted to share it with you guys. Happy 30th to Deadpool. Thank you, Rob Liefeld, for creating this dope ass fucking character. And if you're not already following us, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. Throw your comments or suggestions down below, or you can email us, thecomicloungepod@gmail.com. Like, follow, and subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time a new video goes up. And on that note, I'm out.